Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I decided to make a tutorial where I'm going to be teaching you guys how to build a Chrome extension using JavaScript. So I actually have quite an experience with building Chrome extensions, and I don't know if you guys know, but the very first few subscribers from this channel actually came from TikTok. And I used to make coding TikToks back in July of 2020, something like that. And some of my TikToks went viral where I basically built really weird Chrome extensions and people liked it. So I just thought it would be a good idea to show you guys how to build them, and it's super easy, and I'm also going to teach you guys how to test them. So I actually built a few extensions, but the ones that went viral were like this three over here, the main three. So one of them is very simple. It is actually public. However, I like you guys shouldn't download it. I only made it because of my friend's mom. She wanted me to create an extension which would block different websites while he was in class. So what happens is, if you have this extension on, if you try to access something like I don't know, Netflix, it won't allow you. It will basically block you and say something like get back to work. Or if I try to go to YouTube, it's all in Portuguese because I'm in Brazil, but you can see that it won't allow me to actually go to YouTube. As you can see, I can teach you guys how to make this, but I have other extensions too. For example, I created this syllable extension, which is really cool, where, for example, if you're just working on something and you want to basically know how to divide a word into syllables, you can just open up the extension here and also just put the word. So if I write something like syllable and click on search, you'll see that it will show how you divide it. And this is actually using an API, so it's a bit more complicated, but I can definitely make a video on this in the future. But actually, the extension that I'm going to be building in this video to show you guys how to do it is this one right here. It is the one which basically went a lot more viral. It's called Will Smith. It is actually public, I believe. I published it, and it's super dumb. The only thing that it does is whenever you go to any website, it will automatically replace every single picture, every single image, with a random image of Will Smith. So I'll go to YouTube, and you'll see that all thumbnails will actually become Will Smith, as you can see right here. And every word also becomes Will Smith. That's actually something I implemented later. I don't think I'll be trying to implement the words. I'll just put the pictures because the words actually didn't work perfectly. As you can see, there's still some words which aren't Will Smith. But I just think that this is a great exercise to understand how to build extensions. Also, it helps you get better with JavaScript in general. You can go to websites like LinkedIn, and you'll see that it will basically just replace every single image with an actual image of Will Smith. It takes a bit just because it needs the DOM to load until you're able to see. And there are some bugs you can see right here that this wasn't loaded. It loads as you go, and obviously the extension only works when you load the page. So only the images that load initially are the ones which are going to be replaced by images of Will Smith. But that's not a problem. This is just a beginner's tutorial, so I just really wanted to show you guys how to build this. Okay guys, so let's get started building our project. And as you can see right here, I opened up VS Code and I opened it inside of a folder called Will Smith. So we're actually going to be building the same application because you can use whatever images you want, but I'm going to be using the same ones. It's just showing you guys how to build it in general, right? So what is the first thing that you have to do to actually build the Chrome extension? This will be built completely with JavaScript. And I could use something like React or another framework. However, I think that it is best to understand how it actually works if you start with vanilla JavaScript. So the first thing that we're actually going to make is we're going to create a JSON file called manifest.json. And this is actually the entry point of your application, in the sense that over here is where you define a lot of the things that will be related to your extension. This is an essential part of your application, and you can't actually deploy an extension without a manifest.json. So over here, we have to put some stuff. For example, we have to put the manifest version, which is kind of like the version of our application. We're going to give it a 1 because it is version 1. Then we have to put a name, which is going to be the name of our application. I'm going to call this Will Smith is my life. And you can call it whatever you want. This is actually just the name of the application, as I mentioned. So what else do we have to put? Okay, so we actually have to add the version. So let me see. So the difference between manifest version and version is actually the version of the application. So like version 1.1 or something like that. We're just going to put version 1.0.0, something like this. And manifest version is just the version, like when you change the manifest, you change the version, right? If you have to make any changes, you change the manifest version, but if you don't have to change the manifest, you can just change the individual version, as you can see right here. Now, we have to basically just add some different scripts that we're going to be accessing in our application. And this is the most important part, actually, right? Because we have to tell it that which actual JavaScript files are going to be the files that are going to handle our application. So we have to pass a content scripts over here, and it's actually going to be an array because we have to pass different values that are related to the content scripts. So the first thing that I like to put is I like to put the matches property, and this is actually it will solve a lot of bugs in regards to deploying your extension. So I recommend just saying that it matches with all URLs. So you can just do it like this, all URLs, because I used to have a lot of issues deploying an extension to Google Chrome, but after I started putting this, it actually fixed it. And we also have to put an object around here so that it knows what we're talking about. But basically, over here, like this. And then inside of here, we also have to pass the JavaScript file. So we're going to create a JavaScript file. And I don't know why, but like the standard is to call this JavaScript file content.js. So that's basically what we're going to be calling it. Let's just call it content.js. And this is basically all, I believe. We may be like, if we want to add stuff in the future for our project, like we want to add an icon or something like that, we can just add it later inside of here. But for now, this is basically it. So now what we can do is we can basically just create our JavaScript file. So I'm going to create over here a file called content.js, like I said. And inside of here is actually where we're going to be writing all of our code. We could actually create an HTML file here, which is very common in Chrome extensions. You create an HTML file, which usually is called popup.html. However, our extension doesn't actually pop up anything. I'm going to show you guys later how to create this pop-up file. However, this one specifically, you don't have to like click on the extension to see a pop-up appearing. So we're not going to touch the HTML file. We're just going to touch the JavaScript file. And the first thing that we actually have to do is we need to create an array of basically just images, right? So I'm going to call this Will Smith images. It's just an array containing a bunch of different images that we're going to be using. Why do we need to make it into array? Because we're going to have various different images that we want to constantly be like randomizing through and just to display in the screen. So you can put how many images you want. I already have the list of my images, so I'm gonna come back with the images already put here, but just take a time, like go through Google, search images, and just copy the link directly to the image and paste it over here. As you can see right here, we just finished up getting all the images. This is actually the links to all the images that I'm gonna be using. So if you wanna copy, the code will be in the description, so just check it out. And actually what we have to do now is we actually have to analyze how our extension will work. So similar to if you're building like a web scraper or something like that, what this extension does is, and actually when you're building extensions in general, you have to be very familiar with the DOM. And what do I mean by that? I'm just going to come here to a random website like YouTube again. So I'm going to come here to YouTube. And I want you guys to think, like, if I click on a title, like if I click on one of the thumbnails, we can inspect the element and we can actually take a look at the different, like the DOM, right? The document object model. This is containing all the different tags, HTML tags that exist in the body. And we want to basically just analyze how the images are being displayed, right? So what we actually want to do is in this extension specifically, we just want to replace every single image. So how do we have access to the images? Well, we can very easily just say that, well, we want to grab every single element in the page that is an image, and that can be very easily done with JavaScript, and we want to replace it with a different value. We would just want to change its src property. So if you're familiar with HTML, you know that every image has an src, and we want to replace that property with one of these links right here. So that's literally what we're going to be doing. It's very simple logic, and but I understand that like the implementation can be a little bit confusing. So let's actually start building our code. Let's create let's grab all the images, right? So let's say over here const images. I'm just going to create an array called images, and I'm just going to get, so you can access the document over here, and I'm just going to get elements by tag name, and you can use query selectors all if you want to as well, but I'm just going to say get elements by tag name, and I can just pass a tag name over here of all the elements that I want to grab. And as I mentioned before, we're just going to grab all the images, right? So now that we have grabbed all the images, we basically just want to traverse through every single image, and what we want to do is we just want to change its src, as I mentioned before, to a random value in our array. So how do we do that? I'm gonna do it with a for loop, and a lot of people don't like using for loops, but I actually enjoy it. So I'm just gonna say for, I'm gonna say let I equals 0 and I is less than length of, not like this, I is less than images dot length, and then I plus plus, right? I'm just traversing through the whole array of images. And for each image, the first thing I have to do is I want to write some logic that grabs a random link in our array of images. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to create a variable here called random image, and I'm going to use this logic that I believe that I actually got from Stack Overflow, because getting random values in JavaScript always used to confuse me. So the idea here is that to get a random value in between the length of the array over here, so we're basically just want to grab a random index over here, right? So this actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements. So indexes go from 0 to 7. So we basically just want a random value between 0 and 7. So to do that, what we can do is we can just say math.random. We can use the random function that already exists in the math library, and multiply it times the length of our images array, which is willsmithimages.length, right? And most importantly, we want to floor this value. And by floor, I just mean we want to round it down, right? So we can say math.floor, because obviously it can give us a random value that is actually a float or a double, like a decimal, and we don't want to access a decimal in an array, because that doesn't make any sense. So we either have to seal it or we want to floor it, which means we're going to be rounding it down. So the next thing that we actually have to do is, now that we have our random image in between 0 to 7, we just want to say that images at the index I, so the current image at index I dot src, so we can directly change its src value over here, and we want to set it equal to willsmithimages at random image. So let me just write random image. So basically, here's where we change our, like, every single image's src. We set it equal to the random image that we got inside of our willsmithimages array. And literally, this is the whole logic, right? We can just write direct JavaScript inside of here, and it will work with our extension. So whenever our extension is on and we load a page, this will be executed automatically, and that will basically change everything. So now I'm going to teach you guys how to actually test to see if this code is working. How do I test this in my Chrome? So yeah, that's what I'm going to show you guys. And actually, before we actually tried this, I just remembered something. We can't actually have the manifest version in as 1. We need to have it as 2, because or else we're going to be getting some errors when we try to load it into our Chrome. So make sure that this is 2. Sorry about that. This has to be 2, at least for this version right now. So let's actually start testing to see if this works, right? So if we come here to our Chrome, you can see that I don't have the extension here yet. I have the old extension. This is completely different, a completely different project, but it's the same extension that we're building. It is obviously in my project because it's public. However, I'm going to show you guys how to actually load an extension that you're currently working on and how to constantly be seeing the changes, right? So to do that, you got to click here on your extensions place, like in your Chrome, and you can just click on load unpacked. Then it's going to open up your like your directory. You go to where your project is. So you can see that this is my project. This one over here is the project that I worked on the other, like the one that I published, and this is the one that we actually started working. And I can just select this, and you'll see that now it appears over here. Will Smith is my life. That's the name of our extension that we put here in our manifest.json. And you can see that it doesn't give us any errors. If there's any errors, there will be an error thing over here. And you can see that we can turn it on or off by just toggling this thing over here. So let's test this. When it's off, you realize that this is YouTube. We don't have any like images of Will Smith. But if we toggle this on and we refresh our page, you'll see that now every thumbnail should have changed to, yeah, as you can see right here, every thumbnail should change to Will Smith. And as I mentioned before, it's not guaranteed that like some of like all of the images will change. If we try to go to other websites, like let me think of a website which has different images. Let me try to go to Morio. This is like a cool website for developers. As you can see, like some images doesn't change, some changes. That's just something that happens, and it's hard to determine. But the thing is, I like how it works with YouTube because many of the images actually change, right? It loads very quickly, so that means that it will work. So this is basically it to load this. If you want to make any changes, for example, if we wanted to come over here and we wanted to replace all the H1 tags. So imagine you want to replace all the H1 tags with the word Pedro. To do that, we can just come over here, copy this code, paste it over here, and write a very similar logic, right? We change this to H1. We call this headers, something like this. And we can just change, like for each header, I'll just change its H1 dot inner text to be equal to Pedro is awesome. Let's see if that works. I'm not sure if that's gonna work, but if it works, we can just test it, right? I'm gonna save this, and I can change this to headers, like this, and just pass an I as we did before, and also I have to loop through headers instead of images. And now let's test to see if this is working. To actually refresh and see our changes being made, we need to click on this button over here, and it will basically reload our package from our directory, and we can now check to see if it's working. I don't know how many H1 tags exist in YouTube, but we can try to see, right? So I don't see any. Pedro is awesome. Okay, so as you can see, I just changed it to H2. Apparently, websites have more H2s than H1s, and as you can see on LinkedIn, I changed my profile bio to Pedro is awesome whenever the page is loaded, right? And you can see this also changed to Pedro is awesome. You can basically try that to many different like tags you want. This is just something cool in my opinion that you can try. It's a simple little project, and I think it's funny, right? I think it's cool, and you can try it out on your own. However, now that you know how to reload changes, you know how to actually build stuff, manipulate the DOM. I'm gonna just show you guys very quickly how to actually create the pop-up, right? Because many extensions, when you click on them, they have a simple pop-up appearing over here, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. It's very simple to do it with, like, build it with the way that we're building right now. However, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. So to create the pop-up, we actually have to come over here and access our manifest.json and change it a bit so that it actually has the pop-up being displayed, right? So the first thing that we have to do is we actually have to add a tag called browser action. So we can just come over here and say browser action, like this. And inside of here, we can just add two things, right? So the first one is the default pop-up. So we can say default pop-up. And this over here is basically the name of our HTML file that is going to be the HTML file that we open up whenever we want to open up our pop-up, right? So let's just call it popup.html. And then we can basically just add a default title, which is going to be like the title for our extension that appears, like the visual title that appears when we open it up. So you can just put it whatever you want. I'm just gonna say Will Smith, like this. And this is basically it, right? So what we can do now is we can come here to our application. I'm even going to close this content.js, and I'm just going to create our popup.html like this, just like we wrote over there. And over here we can just write very simple HTML code, right? So we can just add the tag like this, and this is going to build like a whole HTML file. If you guys didn't know, you can just put, as I did, you can just put this and it will build it for you. So now we have this HTML file. I'm going to change this to Will Smith. Then we can come here to our body and we can just add a bunch of stuff. I'm going to add an H1 saying subscribe. I can add I don't know, a div here. I can add an input of type text. I can add whatever I want inside of here, and it's just a normal HTML file that you treat like it is the actual extension, right? So I'm just gonna put it like this, and I can just close this, and this is basically it. Let's try to see if this works now. Let's come to our Google Chrome over here. Let's refresh our extension by clicking on this. And now if we come to over here and we actually open up our extension, so let's actually look for it. It's this one right here. If we click on it, you'll see that a pop-up appears, and whatever you wrote will appear over here. You can add like styling if you want. So I can come over here and add like the style tag and change this to color equal to red, something like this, and now it should have a red color. Obviously we have to refresh it too, so let's refresh it, and you'll see that if we open up the thing, now the color is red. So that's basically how you build your pop-up if you want to build an extension that uses it. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just decided to make this quick video, because it is a topic that I really enjoy. Like literally, you can build whatever you want with this. I love working with Chrome extensions. I haven't done a lot of Chrome extension development in a long time, just because of school and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be a good idea to make this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment down below telling me what you want to build with it. Leave a like, because I would really appreciate it, and subscribe, because it will help the channel grow, and I'm just putting a lot of effort into the channel, so I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe. So yeah, really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.